everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, that means you're new. I'm Mark. What's good with y'all? Go check out my other videos. Check them out. Check them out. But first, stay on this one. I think this is a pretty important video. You know, another informative video coming at you guys. You saw the thumbnail. You read the title. In this video, this is how to safely load and unload your revolver. Just so you guys can see, it is clear right now. Now, with that being said, I do want to address a couple of things before I continue on. One, there are several different forms of unloading your revolver, and some people might be wondering, or excuse me, several different ways, not forms. Some revolvers, they just unload a little bit differently. You know, you might have the Webley revolver where it breaks open. If I'm not mistaken, the Heritage Rough Rider, you have to open the little cylinder gate, and then, you know, each round, twist, plunger, twist, plunger, each round. However, this is going to be how you safely load and unload a majority of your common revolvers to find today. Now, once again, I'm not saying there aren't other ways that revolvers are to be loaded or unloaded. However, this is what you're more likely than not going to come across. Now, for those of y'all wondering what gun am I using right here, because it looks a little different than anything I brought on the channel, this gun has actually been brought on the channel before. This is my friend Marcelino's Taurus Model 605. Now, some of y'all might be wondering, wait a minute, weren't there rubber grips on that? Yes, there were. Now there are wood grips. Deal with it. Cry about it. But we're going to go ahead and get started now. Some people might be wondering, what would I consider the safest way to load and unload your revolver? Well, I'm not sure if it's with every revolver, so this one really might just be a only this model situation. However, this model does come with a key. This key, you know, if you see that little nub right there, put it in there. Right now it's actually locked. You can lock your gun. Twist it here. Now it's unlocked. With it being unlocked, let me double check the cylinder. I can operate the hammer and the trigger. No issue, but you lock it and you cannot do so. Won't go anymore. I don't want to mess up the timing on his revolver. I'm not going to keep playing with it. However, if this is the case for a lot of other revolvers as well, this one I'm not 100% certain on, mainly because of the fact that I am not so much a revolver guy. I simply would just lock the gun like that. Go ahead and pull out your cylinder. Let me show you how you do that, actually. So with a Smith & Wesson style cylinder release, you're going to see right there, you're simply just pressing down on it and then pushing the cylinder out with your index finger. With Colt style cylinder releases, it's going to actually be pulling a bit with your thumb, so you're kind of doing that, you know, kind of doing that and then pressing out the cylinder instead of pressing down. However, they're both fairly easy, if not very easy to do. So with that being said, just make sure the gun is locked in this case. Push out the cylinder, take your rounds, put one in each chamber of your cylinder. Go ahead and line up one of your chambers with the barrel of your revolver, and bam, you have a completely loaded revolver now. Some of y'all might be wondering, do I really need to, once again, this is if your gun also comes with the key and has a little nub back here, do I really need to lock the gun? No, not really. It's just something that, you know, if you want to be extra safe and you want to take that extra precautionary measure, you can do so. Now, one of the cool things is that regardless of whether this is locked or not, you can still clear the gun. How would you do that? You're going to do the same thing you did to pop the cylinder out in the first place. You're going to press down, or if you have a Colt style cylinder release, you're going to pull up on it, or pull back, I guess. You're going to press down and boom, push out the cylinder upside down or towards you. Press on the plunger a few times. Visually inspect the cylinder. You know, you don't have to spin it like I did if you don't want to. I just do that for fun. And then your firearm is empty. Now, there are a couple of things I want to discuss here. A lot of people don't realize this, and I do have to unlock the gun for this. So boom, double check the cylinder. You can never be too safe with firearms, guys. You can never be too safe. Now, some of y'all who are fairly new to firearms or revolvers, you don't realize that if your hammer is back, so if you have a single double action revolver and your hammer is back, you cannot pop out that cylinder. You're not going to be able to. It won't happen. You won't be able to unload your gun that way. Now, some people might be thinking in their head, okay, well, what do I do if I'm in that situation? You have one of three options, and two of them really aren't ideal. Actually, none of them are really ideal. Let me get into it. One, you can either hope that nothing is going to touch your single action trigger now on your revolver, which it's a, granted it's still a Taurus revolver, but the single action is still very light. That's not really ideal in this case. The the next one is thumbing down the hammer, and that already is sketchy enough. So for those of y'all who don't know what thumbing down the hammer is, this is something I do not recommend you do. I am only doing this because I've practiced a good little bit, and even if I mess up, I know the gun is empty. Put your thumb on top of the hammer, okay? You want to make sure you have a good grip like that. You're going to pull the trigger and make sure your thumb stays on top of the hammer as you slowly let it down, and then bam. Now, the reason why I don't recommend doing that is because, one, if you have not practiced a lot, like for example, I've borrowed this gun before and held on to it for a while. I still had to sit there and practice with it a good bit before I felt even semi-comfortable thumbing down the hammer on that revolver again. Sometimes your thumb slips. Sometimes the hammer slips, and that can lead to a discharge of your gun. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. However, as you can see, though, now that the hammer is up again, the cylinder can pop out. Now, there is one other way to get your hammer down when when you have a loaded gun here and you're not trying to thumb down the hammer, so to speak, or just leave it up to fate. And that option is, but yeah, no, so I'm sure, as you could imagine, I'm not advocating for you guys to have the hammer on your revolver's back when you have them loaded. As you just saw there's really only one of three options, which is you either hoping against hope that nothing pulls that very light single action trigger. Let's show you guys how light the single action trigger is compared to the double action. Double action trigger. Single action trigger. You see what I mean? So you're either hoping that nothing pulls that extremely light single action trigger, or you're hoping that you can safely thumb down the hammer without causing the gun to go off, without your thumb slipping, without the hammer slipping, without causing a negligent discharge, or you're just going to have to shoot the gun. And in the end, that's just not ideal for any of us. It's really not. But all in all, to avoid that, just keep your hammer up. And keep in mind, if you have your gun locked as well, you're not going to be able to access the hammer or really operate it. So, for example, I just locked it. I'm trying here, but it's just not happening. You see what I mean? So I think that about wraps it up for this video. All in all, guys, yes, there are some revolvers that do or need to be loaded and unloaded a little bit differently. However, this is the most common way of loading and unloading your revolvers that you're probably going to have to deal with. With that being said, I think that about wraps it up. Y'all make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that bell. When you hit that bell, hit all, and whether or not you, there's not even a whether or not you agree with me. Just a nice, informative video for you guys. And remember to always keep your finger off the trigger. Remember, always double check your firearms as you've seen me do in this video. But also remember that this is the proper way to load and unload your revolver. Do not put your hammer back on your loaded gun, or on your loaded revolver, unless you plan on shooting it, guys, because we see what happens if you do. With that being said, y'all make sure to comment down below why or why not you like this video. Make sure to comment, make sure to comment down below where you're from as well. As a matter of fact, because why not? I've been getting viewers from Russia, Brazil, US, so why not? All right. Then make sure to check out all my other videos. Y'all make sure to stay legal, stay safe, stay dangerous. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.